In a world where darkness often hides behind badges and secrets linger in the shadows, one curious little boy stumbled upon a truth that could change everything. With bravery in his heart and a phone in hand, Eli found himself caught between two men, one lost in fear, the other desperate to maintain control. As the woods bore witness to a confrontation of morality and courage, Eli would learn that sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought with fists, but with the strength to stand up for what is right. This is a story about choices, redemption, and the unwavering spirit of a child who dared to challenge the darkness. Before we dive into today's story, let us know in the comments where in the world are you watching this video from. We'd love to hear from you. Sometimes the biggest adventures start with the smallest moments. For 10-year-old Eli, the woods behind his neighborhood were more than just a cluster of trees. They were his playground, his escape, and his own private world of endless mysteries. Eli wasn't an ordinary boy. Sure, he loved video games and comic books like every other kid at his age, but what he loved even more was exploring. Eli had the heart of a detective, noticing things that most people missed, asking questions that no one else dared to ask. And in his small, quiet town, the woods were the perfect stage for his wild imagination. Most days, his adventures were harmless, chasing squirrels, climbing trees, searching for cool rocks. But today, something felt different. Eli couldn't explain it, but there was a strange pull, a feeling in the pit of his stomach that told him he was about to find something extraordinary. Eli told, "All right, let's see what we've got today, maybe some cool bugs or buried treasure, who knows?" Eli had been exploring these woods for as long as he could remember. He knew every path, every clearing, every old tree with carvings left by kids long before him. But today, he decided to go farther than he ever had before, deeper into the woods, where the trees grew thicker and the air seemed a little quieter. You see, Eli wasn't just curious, he was brave, the kind of brave that only kids can be before they learn to be afraid of the unknown. And so, with his backpack full of snacks and tools and his heart full of curiosity, Eli marched on, completely unaware of what or who was waiting for him. Eli told, "Tire tracks? All the way out here? That's weird. No one drives this deep into the woods." Eli's sharp eyes picked up on the details, tracks that didn't belong, a broken branch here, a patch of dirt that looked freshly disturbed. Most people wouldn't have noticed these things, but Eli did, and the more he noticed, the more his curiosity grew. He didn't know it yet, but Eli was on the edge of something big, something he wasn't supposed to see. But for now, all he knew was that he had to follow those tracks. Because if there was one thing Eli couldn't stand, it was an unsolved mystery. For a while, it was just him and the woods, the crunch of leaves beneath his feet, the distant caw of a crow, the occasional snap of a twig in the distance. But as he walked further, the woods seemed to grow quieter. The kind of quiet that makes your skin prickle, like the trees themselves are holding their breath. Eli told, "Weird, it's so quiet." But Eli didn't turn back. He was too curious, too determined, and so he pressed on, deeper into the unknown, following the tracks that twisted and turned through the forest like a secret trail only he could see. Narrator. And then he saw them, two men. At first, their uniforms made them look official, safe, but something about the way they moved, their quick, nervous glances, the way they whispered to each other, made Eli's stomach twist. These weren't just men at work, they were hiding something. For the first time that day, Eli felt it. Fear, but it wasn't enough to stop him. Because if there was one thing Eli knew, it was that sometimes the truth is worth the risk. Eli didn't move, he couldn't. His heart pounded in his chest, the sound echoing in his ears like a drumbeat. Just a few feet away, two men in police uniforms were standing by a black truck, their voices low, their movements hurried. Something about the scene didn't feel right. Something about the way they looked over their shoulders made Eli's stomach twist with a mix of fear and curiosity. Eli's first instinct was to run, but he didn't, not yet, because there was something about those black bags that made him stay, something about the way the man moved that whispered, "This is a secret." And if there was one thing Eli couldn't resist, it was a good mystery. Eli told, "What are they doing? Are they burying something?" The black bags looked heavy, too heavy. The way the men struggled to carry them, the way they tried so hard not to make a sound, it was enough to make Eli's mind race. Were they hiding stolen money, evidence from a crime, or was it something worse? Officer Blake told Harris, "Hurry up, we don't have all day." Officer Harris told, "I'm going as fast as I can. What if someone finds this? What if someone's watching?" Eli knew he should leave. Every instinct screamed at him to get back on his bike and pedal home as fast as he could. But he couldn't, not yet. Something about the men's voices, about the way Harris kept looking over his shoulder, made Eli feel like he had stumbled onto something big. Too big to walk away from, and if he could just figure out what was inside those bags. Officer Harris told, "This is wrong, Blake. We shouldn't be doing this." "What if someone finds out?" Officer Blake told. "No one's going to find out. Just keep your mouth shut, Harris, and do your job." The crack of the twig was small, but in the stillness of the woods, it might as well have been a gunshot. Eli froze, his heart leaping into his throat as both men stopped what they were doing and turned toward the sound. Officer Blake told, "Who's there?" Officer Harris panicked. "You think someone's watching?" For a moment, Eli thought he was safe. The woods were dense, the trees casting long shadows. Maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't see him. But then Blake started moving, slowly, methodically, stepping toward the source of the sound. Officer Harris told Blake, "What if it's just an animal? We should finish up and leave." Officer Blake told, "And what if it's not? Stay here, I'll handle it." Eli's mind raced. He was just a kid, alone in the woods, with two men who clearly didn't want to be seen. What were they hiding, and what would they do if they found him? For the first time, Eli wished he hadn't gone so far, but it was too late now. All he could do was hold his breath and pray they wouldn't find him. Officer Blake told probably just a stupid deer. For now, Eli was safe, but he knew he couldn't stay much longer. He had to get out of there. He had to tell someone what he had seen. But how could he when the only evidence he had was a shaky video on his phone and a gut feeling that something was very, very wrong? Eli thought he was safe. For a moment, he believed the worst was over, but as he peeked through the branches, his heart sank. The two men hadn't left, they hadn't given up, and now their movements were even stranger, more deliberate, more dangerous. Whatever they were hiding, they were determined to keep it a secret. Officer Harris told, "I don't like this, Blake. What if someone really is out here? What if they saw us?" Officer Blake told, "No one saw us, Harris. You're being paranoid. Let's just finish this and get out of here." Eli could see it, the fear in Harris's eyes, the hesitation in his movements. This wasn't just some routine task for him. Whatever they were doing, Harris wasn't fully on board. But Blake was different. He was calm, focused, like a man who had done this before. Eli told, "Come on, say something. What's in the bags?" Officer Harris told, "Do we really have to bury it? Couldn't we just leave it somewhere else?" "This feels wrong." Officer Blake, snapping, "You think I care how you feel, Harris? This is the safest place. No one comes out here. Now stop whining and grab the other bag." Eli didn't understand what he was seeing. Tools, gear, evidence, every possibility raced through his mind, each one worse than the last. But one thing was clear, these men weren't just hiding something, they were hiding themselves, and whatever they were doing, they didn't want anyone to know. Officer Harris told, "What if someone finds this? What if they trace it back to us?" Officer Blake told, "No one's going to find it, and if they do, well, let's just say we'll make sure they don't talk." Eli's heart felt like it might burst out of his chest. He knew he had stumbled onto something dangerous, something he wasn't supposed to see, and now it wasn't just about curiosity, it was about survival. Eli told, "They can't see me, they can't see me." Officer Harris told, "I didn't sign up for this, Blake. I just wanted to make some extra cash, not this." Officer Blake told, "Well, too bad. You're in it now, Harris, and if you don't shut up and help me, you'll be the one in the hole next." Eli could feel the shift in the air. Harris was scared, too scared to stand up to Blake, but scared enough to make mistakes, and mistakes Eli knew could be dangerous. Eli's mind raced. He couldn't stay here forever. Sooner or later, they'd finish what they were doing, and if they found him, he didn't want to think about what would happen if they found him. Officer Blake told, "Did you hear that?" Officer Harris told, I don't know, maybe it's just an animal." Officer Blake told, "That didn't sound like an animal." Eli had been careful, so careful, but now, as Blake's footsteps crunched closer and closer, he realized just how fragile his safety was. One wrong move, one wrong breath, and it would all be over. Officer Blake told, "If someone's out here, I'll find them." Eli knew he was out of time. Blake's footsteps were getting closer, each one crunching the dry leaves like the tick of a clock counting down to disaster. He didn't dare move, but he also knew that if he stayed there much longer, he'd be caught. And something about Blake's cold, calculating stare told Eli that being caught wasn't an option. Officer Harris told, "Blake, let's just finish up and leave. It's probably nothing." Officer Blake told, "If it's nothing, I'll find out soon enough. If it's not, well, we'll handle it." The sound startled them all. For a split second, Blake looked up, distracted by the sudden noise. And in that moment, Eli knew he had to move. He couldn't wait any longer. Officer Blake told, "There, someone's there." And just like that, the chase was on. Eli didn't look back. He couldn't. All he could hear was the pounding of his own heartbeat and the crashing of heavy footsteps behind him. Blake was fast, and Eli knew he couldn't outrun him for long, but he also knew these woods better than anyone. If he could just stay ahead, just keep moving, maybe, just maybe, he had a chance. Officer Harris told, "Blake, stop! He's just a kid." Officer Blake told, "Shut up, Harris. If he saw anything, we're done." Eli didn't have a plan. There wasn't time to think, to strategize. All he could do was run, faster, harder, deeper into the woods. The trees blurred past him, their branches grabbing at his clothes like hands trying to pull him back. But Eli didn't stop. He couldn't stop. He thought about his mom, about his friends, about all the people who told him not to go too far into the woods. But he also thought about the video on his phone, the proof of what he had seen. He couldn't let them catch him. He couldn't let them take it away. Officer Blake told Kid, "Stop! You're only making this worse for yourself." Blake's voice cut through the air like a blade, but Eli didn't stop. He couldn't. He knew what making it worse really meant, and he wasn't about to find out what Blake would do if he caught him. Officer Blake told, "You can't run forever, Kid." Eli's lungs burned, his legs ached, but he didn't dare make a sound. He crouched inside the hollow tree, his entire body trembling as he listened to the heavy footsteps approaching. Blake was close, too close. Officer Blake told, "Where are you, Kid? You can't just disappear." Eli's mind raced. He couldn't stay there forever. Sooner or later, Blake would find him. But if he ran again, he wasn't sure he'd have the energy to keep going. He was out of options, running out of time. For a moment, it felt like the entire forest held its breath. Eli could feel his heart pounding in his chest, the sound deafening in his ears. He prayed Blake wouldn't look inside, wouldn't find him, but deep down, he knew it was only a matter of time. Officer Harris told Blake, "Let it go, he's just a kid. Let's get out of here before this gets worse." The sound shattered the tension like glass. Someone or something was coming, and for the first time, Blake looked unsettled. Eli's mind raced as he huddled inside the hollow tree, every nerve in his body screaming for escape. He could hear the men outside, their voices a harsh whisper, the tension palpable. But beneath the fear, a different feeling began to surface: empathy. For the first time, he realized that it wasn't just his life at stake, it was Harris's too. Officer Blake told, "What was that sound? We're wasting time. We need to find that kid." Officer Harris told Blake, "Maybe we should just leave him alone. He's just a kid. What if he gets hurt?" Officer Blake told, "And what if he tells someone what he saw? We can't take that chance." In that moment, Eli understood. Harris wasn't a villain. He was just a man caught in a situation he never wanted to be part of. His heart raced as he realized that both men were trapped, Blake in his ruthless determination to keep their secret, and Harris in his growing fear of what they were doing. Officer Harris told Blake, "This isn't right. We need to think about what we're doing. If anyone finds out, I can't live with that." Eli felt a connection to Harris, a sense of shared humanity. He was just a kid trying to survive in a world that felt increasingly dangerous and unpredictable, and here was another person, someone who wore a badge but wasn't so different from him, caught in a web of fear. Officer Blake told, "Enough, we're not leaving without covering our tracks. If you're scared, that's on you, but I'm not going to let some kid ruin everything." Eli knew he had a choice to make. He could continue hiding, hoping they would leave, or he could take a stand. He could use his voice to confront the fear and darkness that surrounded them. And maybe, just maybe, he could reach Harris, help him see that there was another way. Eli told, "I have to do this for both of us." Eli raised his phone, the dim light shining through the hollow tree, casting a glow on his determined face. He took a deep breath, reminding himself of the stakes. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about shining a light on what was happening in the shadows. Officer Harris told, "What if we just told someone? What if we came clean?" Officer Blake told, "And risk losing everything? No way, just help me finish this." Eli told, "You don't have to do this." Eli's heart raced as he spoke, his voice trembling but firm. He had no idea how they would react, but he knew he had to try. The fear that had gripped him moments before was now overshadowed by a surge of courage. Officer Blake told, "What? Who's there?" Eli told, "You don't have to hide. You're better than this. You don't have to bury whatever it is you're trying to hide. Just stop." Officer Blake told, "You shouldn't be here, kid. You don't know what you're talking about." Eli told, "I may be just a kid, but I understand what's right and wrong. This isn't right. If you're scared, Harris, then you know too. You don't have to follow him." Eli's words hung in the air, heavy with truth. He knew he was taking a risk, but sometimes the hardest battles are the ones fought with words and conviction rather than fists. And in that moment, he hoped that Harris would find the courage to stand up for what was right. Officer Harris told, "He's right, Blake. This isn't who we are. We need to fix this." Eli felt a wave of relief wash over him, but he also knew that Blake wouldn't back down easily. The tension between them was thick, the air charged with unspoken fears and the weight of choices yet to be made. Officer Blake told, "You're both making a huge mistake. We have to finish this, now." Eli told, "No. You can't keep going down this path. It's not too late to do the right thing." The moment felt suspended in time, a standoff between innocence and corruption. Eli, a mere boy with a phone in hand, stood against the hardened resolve of an officer who had long since crossed the line. Yet it was the uncertainty in Harris's eyes that gave Eli hope. Officer Blake told, "You think you can just waltz in here and tell me what to do? You have no idea what you're messing with, kid." L told, "I may be just a kid, but I know when something is wrong. You're not protecting anyone by doing this. You're just hiding from the truth." Officer Harris told Blake, maybe we should listen to him. This isn't right. We can't just keep burying things and pretending it'll all go away. Officer Blake told, you're letting a child sway you? Have you lost your mind? We have a plan, and we're not going to let some kid ruin it. Eli understood the stakes. He was standing up not just for himself, but for Harris, who was caught between duty and morality. In that moment, Eli felt a surge of empathy for Harris, a man who had the power to make a choice, to change the course of their lives. Eli told Harris, you're not just an officer, you're a person, you know what's right, you can stop this, it's not too late. Officer Harris told, I don't want to be a part of this anymore, Blake. Officer Blake told, you're going to regret this, Harris. You can't just walk away from what we've done. You're in this with me. In that moment, Eli realized that Harris was at a crossroads. The fear that had once dictated his choices was beginning to fade, replaced by a longing to do what was right. Eli knew he had to push just a little harder. Eli told, you both have a choice. You can keep hiding, keep running from the truth, or you can face it. You can be better than this. Officer Blake told, you think you can change anything? You're just a kid with a phone. Nobody will believe you. Eli told, maybe not today, but I won't stop fighting. The truth always comes out, Blake. You can't bury it forever. Officer Harris told Blake, he's right, we can't keep doing this. I don't want to be part of something that's wrong. Officer Blake told, you're making a mistake, Harris. You think this kid cares about you? He's just trying to save himself. Eli told, no, I'm trying to save both of you. This isn't just about me. It's about making the right choice, about being brave enough to stand up to what's wrong. Officer Harris told, I won't be part of this anymore, Blake. I'm done. The confrontation hung in the air, charged with emotions, fear, defiance, and a flicker of hope. Eli stood as a beacon of courage, reminding them of their humanity, of the choices they could still make. Officer Blake told, you think you're so noble? You'll regret this, kid. I won't let you ruin everything. Eli told, you don't have to do this, Blake. It's not too late to turn back. In that moment, Eli understood that the power of choice lay not just in his hands, but in Harris's as well, and with that realization came a tremendous weight of responsibility, a chance to influence change. The moment of truth had arrived in the heart of the woods. Eli stood at the crossroads of fear and bravery, holding on to hope as the fate of not just himself, but also Harris, hung in the balance. The confrontation had shifted the power dynamic, and now the air crackled with the potential for change. Officer Blake told, you think this is a game? You're playing with a fire, kid. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Eli told, it's not a game, Blake. It's about doing what's right. You can keep running or you can face the truth. Officer Harris told Blake, this needs to stop. We can't keep hiding what we've done. We have to come clean. Officer Blake told, you really think you can just walk away from this? You'll regret it. I won't let you ruin everything. Eli told, you can't intimidate us anymore. We're not afraid of you. We're standing up for what's right. As the tension escalated, Eli sensed that the outcome could tip either way. The balance of power was shifting, but the stakes were high. He needed to keep pushing, to find a way to break through to Blake. Eli told, you have a choice, Blake. You can either keep hiding behind your badge, or you can embrace the truth and let go of the lies. What will it be? Officer Blake told, you're just a kid. You don't understand what's at stake. Eli told, I understand enough to know that covering up the truth only leads to more pain. You still have time to change, to do the right thing. Officer Harris told Blake, we can't keep running. We owe it to ourselves to stop this madness. In that moment, Eli realized that change was possible. It would take courage, but it was within reach. If only Blake could find it within himself. Officer Blake told, you think I want this? You think I want it to end up here? Eli told, Then don't be that person anymore. It's not too late to change your path. Officer Harris told Blake, let's stop this together. We can report what happened and make it right. We owe it to ourselves and to everyone who could be affected by our silence. The air was thick with anticipation, and Eli could feel the tide turning. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a chance for redemption, a moment that could change everything. Officer Blake told what now? The woods were about to reveal another truth, one that might seal their fates forever. Eli's heart raced as he realized that their moment of confrontation was about to be interrupted, leaving them all on the edge of uncertainty. Eli told, "Stay strong, Harris. No matter what happens next, we've already taken the first step." What would you do if you found yourself in Eli's shoes? Would you have the courage to confront the truth? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling tales. Your support means the world to us.